So this is Best Buy versus International Paper. We definitely have sell signal on Best Buy, and our current portfolio is calling International Paper. Another thing is really important here. I talked about cash management a little bit. I may go into depth on that. I don't know if it's necessary, honestly, but if it is, I'll go into depth on it. International Paper current price is $58. Best Buy is like 100. So selling Best Buy means that we put roughly $7,000 in our pocket, and then I think we can very easily either use that 7,000 to buy 100 shares of International Paper and still have like $2,000. I'm sorry, yeah, $2,000 left over. So let's take a look. Now this is going to be a surface level analysis. If I feel the need to dig deeper, I will. I know quite a bit about Best Buy, so it's really no need to do a deep dive there. But International Paper, even though, like I said, I've known the company for a long time, I followed them quite a bit. Who knows? I may deem it necessary to do a deep dive and really get into the financials. That's always fun to do. So let's do a quick surface level comparison. I don't know what happened here. Okay, there we go. All right, so as I said before, price is completely different. The dividend for International Paper is crazy. I mean, that's hard for me to even believe. I definitely want to double check that. I'm not sure what the heck is going on. But usually when the dividend is that high, it's because the price has dropped quite a bit. And I mean, the purchase price, and see, and I made this mistake in a previous video. So the purchase price is actually July of 2020. So it's only 1 year ago, and you can see that the price has rebounded quite a bit. So, I mean, that really gives me a good feeling that this dividend is somewhat secure. And remember, all these companies have been paying consistent dividend for the last 10 years without missing. One thing that does give me a little pause here is, wait. This is wrong. This is IEP. I'm so sorry. Problem with doing this stuff live versus doing it and then recording. Goodness. All right, that's better. All right. So the dividend is not that crazy. All right. So that's the dividend I can believe. All right. So it is a little higher than Best Buy. I'm sure a lot of that has to do, again, with just, Best Buy because of COVID, man. The price just skyrocketed. But it did the same thing, looks like, for IP too. The PE ratio is a bit higher for IP, which does give me a bit of pause. Keep in mind that PE ratio is the price divided by the earnings, and the earnings is how much profit per share did the company make, okay? And so what happens is if your earnings are smaller than your price, then you have a larger PE ratio, right? But the same thing can happen, whereas earnings stay the same, but your price increases a whole bunch. And that can also increase the PE ratio. What the case is for IP, I'm not sure. Like I said, it is a bit higher than Best Buy. It doesn't give me a lot of pause, honestly. I want to take a look at what the average is for the sector, but it doesn't give me any great pause. Okay, so the 5-year high for Best Buy is 25, so they're way below that. That's great. The 5-year high for IP is 26, and they're getting closer to that. But point being is they're not at the very top, and that's kind of what we look at when we look at that 5-year high is if it's at the top of its range, then typically what that means is the PE is probably going to come down some. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to happen, but typically, right? If it gets to the top of its 5-year range, then either you're going to have the price come down, or you're going to have earnings come down. And that's important too, because a lot of investors will look at PE ratio when deciding whether or not to purchase a stock. Basically says that the stock is too expensive, right? Or they'll look at it and say, oh, this stock is really cheap because the PE ratio is lower. Same thing we see here with the 5-year low. Both of these companies are above their 5-year low. Again, when you see that PE ratio down towards the bottom, that's typically a sign that either the company is in trouble or that you're about to have a lot of people buying the stock and increase their price. Average PE, as you see, is the same. So, I mean, so far, I don't really see a lot going on comparing these two. Again, like I said, the PE for IP is a bit higher than Best Buy. And, with the numbers being so similar, I'll say that that's a good thing. You know what I mean? And it means that you have more people purchasing this stock because maybe the market thinks that it's a better company or it's going to perform better. Net profit is about the same. And I want to say, too, that comparing these companies sometimes is difficult, right? And that's the reason why a lot of times I have to do a deep dive, because you can't really it's like comparing, well, I'll just say it's like comparing apples to oranges sometimes, right? International Paper, of course, they sell paper. We've all seen, well, if you work in an office, you see that big box of printer paper is what they sell. And Best Buy is selling electronics. You know what I mean? So we're talking about two different things, right? Talking about two different industries. But with that being said, you can say that the similarities are that at the end of the day, International Paper is taking money, right, putting it into a product, and then selling that product at retail prices, and in some cases, bulk prices for their larger customers. And Best Buy is doing the same thing. You know what I mean? So anyway, so that's it. The operating profit, for a long time, those numbers have not been correct. So this is just an average, so it doesn't mean anything. Return on assets, I assume the International Paper is going to have much more assets on the books than Best Buy. And let me go back and say this too. So I said that sometimes it's difficult to compare companies, and so that's the reason why I need to do a deep dive. And what that deep dive consists of is comparing the companies against their competitors, right? So comparing Best Buy with something like, that's the cool thing about Best Buy. They're kind of in a class by themselves. There's not many other big electronics companies out there that I can think of. So you would compare Best Buy with something like a Target, maybe, or it's hard to do that because Target is not Best Buy at all. They do sell electronics, they sell a bunch of other stuff too. So anyway, but that's my point. You want to compare the companies with their competitors, and then you really want to look at sometimes if the numbers just like, I don't know about that. Why is that number that, or whatever, right? Then you'll want to start comparing quarter to quarter and year to year. Okay, so that's what happens during those deep dives, and looking at these numbers will kind of tell me whether or not I need to do that. So far, I don't really see a reason to. Return on assets, though, to my point, International Paper is a completely different company. You know what I mean? I imagine that they're going to have a lot more assets than what Best Buy is going to have, because Best Buy probably, other than inventory, maybe real estate, and we've talked about that in the previous video, where you have companies like WP Carey that will go in and purchase the building from Best Buy and then lease the building to Best Buy. And so what that does for Best Buy is they can take that asset off their books, right? And so now that that asset is off their books, well, all of a sudden it makes it look like they're making a lot more money with a lot less assets, you see. And so I can imagine why there's such a huge discrepancy there. Cash per share, again, completely different companies, but it is cool to see that Best Buy has a bunch of cash available. And I want to make sure too that we understand it. And I may need to look at this number a little differently because what this means is that $22 out of the roughly, well, I'll say we purchased Best Buy for $100. All right, so $22 of that $100 is straight cash, and so that's really cool because the one thing that I've always liked about the stock market compared to other ventures like selling products or selling services is that with the stock market, especially when you're dealing with these large companies, I can sell my position for cash money, right? At any time. Like there's never, unless there's a holiday or weekend or something, right? Like there's never going to be a time where I'm like, man, I really want to sell this thing I have. And depending on, again, your basket of stocks and how you invest, you're probably not going to lose a lot of money on the sale. Compared to when you're selling products, sometimes it's hard to find buyers, no matter what you're selling, whether it's cups or spoons or T-shirts, whatever it is, right? Sometimes it's hard to find buyers. And then when you're in a pinch and you really need to get rid of inventory, you're having to sell it for less than what you wanted to, right? And then you have to worry about storage. That's another thing, There's been more than a few times that I've had specifically young women at my house, and they say, why do you have all this stuff stacked up in your dining room? And it's like, well, I got to put it somewhere. Now, I don't want to pay for storage because then that's going to eat into my profits. You know what I mean? So with stocks, there's no storage, there's none of that. And I can press a button and sell it for cash anytime I want to. And so when you have a company that has what is basically 20% of the stock price in cash, that's your security. You know what I mean? Like that makes it improbable, almost impossible for the stock price to ever drop below the cash per share. You know what I mean? But the one thing that I do want to do with that number, though, for comparative reasons, and I may do this going forward. I can't believe I've never had this thought before, is to turn this into a percentage because, I mean, $22 a share compared to this, whatever dollar per share may be misleading when you're not looking at a percentage. So, because I can't do that math in my head, that's the problem with doing stuff live. All right. Figure this out. Excel doesn't like. See, the problem is. Should be 20%. Okay, well. Bring this out a couple decimals. Yeah, so $1.50 out of $58. I know it's less than 20%, but I'm just kind of curious as to how far away from that 20% it is. Probably gonna be like what, 5% maybe? Let's see. All right, see, I was completely wrong. Why I did that. All right, so it is. Okay, so I think that looks it makes a lot more sense comparatively. May keep it, I may not. All right. And then cash to debt. So again, just talk about cash. Best Buy has a lot more cash on hand. A lot of the reason why, not only because I think Best Buy is doing so well right now, but again, it's just a different business. You know what I mean? International Paper probably spends a lot of cash on their product, and I think cash is probably slower to come in versus Best Buy being a retail store. They're constantly ringing that register. International Papers doing business with or larger companies. I'm sure they have a retail side, which is probably not as big. All right. Next thing is a percentage of shares short. If you don't know what that means, it's called short interest. Is the technical term for it. This is the number of shares that people have sold short. All right. Now, what is short selling? You can purchase a stock in hopes that you buy it for $1 and the price goes to $5. You can then sell it at $5 and make a profit, right? If you sell a stock short, what you're doing is you're selling it short at $5 in the hopes that the stock price will fall to $1, and then you'll be able to buy it for $1, and that's how you realize a profit, okay? Now, why this is important is because when you have a large percentage of the shares being sold short, it means that there's a larger percentage of the market, there's a larger percentage of people who think that this stock price is going to fall. All right? And that can bode well if you own the stock. Reason being is because what happens is these people who are selling the stock short, if the price increases, if the price goes up, they stand to lose a lot of money. And so what will happen is they will buy the stock, right, as the price is increasing, which increases the price even further. And it's called a short squeeze. And when it happens, it is just the best thing ever for multiple reasons. Number one, because you're making a lot of money. Number two, because you're kind of sticking it to the short sellers. You're saying, nah, boo boo. I told you the stock was going to go up. You thought it was going to go down. You know what I mean? And so comparing that short interest is really important for me. And as you can see, it's about the same. Best Buy is a little bit higher, probably because this company has just been on a tear. You know what I mean? As far as the stock price, it's jumped up quite a bit. And so I'm sure that there's a percentage of people out there that think, you know what, man, this thing has gotten too high and I think it's going to come down. With that being said, it may be prudent to get out of this position for this reason, which is why I like looking at these numbers. Like I said, Best Buy doesn't have an earnings call yet, right? And I've discussed this before. We've seen it across the board. When you have these companies that did so well during COVID, and they post these new numbers, when you compare those new numbers with last year, they don't hold up. Now Best Buy has done fairly well so far in the last like 2 quarters that I think we've been comparing numbers for COVID. I forget the exact dates, but second quarter of 2020. Yeah. So second quarter of 2020, third quarter of 2020. So we're talking about second quarter of 21, third quarter of 21. And so we're looking at, so this earnings call coming up, I believe it's going to be the second quarter for Best Buy. And so comparing that with second quarter last year, I don't know. We may see Best Buy down 5-10%. Who knows? You know what I mean? And maybe that's why that short interest is a bit higher. All right. Difference. To be honest with you, I forgot. Oh, okay. So this is talking about the stock price, and so this is the percentage difference. And I don't know why it's not. And I'm not going to keep any of these changes. So this is just, how far off is the stock price from its ultimate high? And both of these companies are about the same. And that's really interesting because, again, we talk about IP being a bit more expensive than Best Buy. We talk about Best Buy having slightly higher short interest, which honestly, because I mean that 5 and 3, that I don't think that means 3 to 5%. Sure, it's a difference, but I don't know. I just don't see it as much of a difference. All right. And then this one is I think really telling when you look at the difference from the absolute low, and this is over the last 12 months, right? So over the last 12 months, International Paper is 70% higher than its absolute low, which means over the last 12 months, it's really been on a tear. Best Buy, not so much. And that goes right back to the PE ratio that we discussed. So, what happens with Best Buy? If let's say the earnings come out, let's say the earnings are about the same, and the stock price takes a dip, then we'll see the PE ratio come down, and this number comes down. So I don't know. I don't know. Kind of hard to say. So Best Buy has a better alpha. That's saying quite a bit. And just to reiterate, alpha means when the market overall, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, for this case, if it returns 1% for the month, this company returns maybe I don't know 1.2% for the month. Okay? So it beats the market on average, right? And again, this is over the last 3 years, which is important to know. Okay, so over the last 3 years, this company has consistently beat the market, and International Paper not so much. Now, the thing though is that remember the program is looking over the last 3 years, and it's saying, hey, the alpha portfolios aren't doing so well, right? That's not where you need to be. Let's take a look at what that looks like, because I'm curious. I'm gonna pull out a few of them. 'Cause I do wonder if the alpha down is gonna be a better deal, and then I'm gonna also pull out M scores. Alpha, that's a big one. Okay. Let's see what these things look like. Yeah, see, look at this. It's crazy. I mean, it's, like I say, it's proof of concept, man. So the alpha down portfolio performed the best over the last 3 years. Looks like for the last 12 months, the M score alpha just sort of beat out the alpha down. That M score portfolio, man, my goodness. So yeah, I mean, like I said, listen, again, this past year, this COVID drop and then recovery is I don't think it's going to happen again in 2021. I mean, we're almost done with 2021, right? So maybe I'll say fiscal 2021. And it's possible, but a drop like that doesn't come along every year. You know what I mean? So I don't expect that to happen. This is, again, I don't know for certain, but for now, it's definitely an outlier year, right? These are big numbers. But 43% compared with the down moves of 60%. It's still nothing to scoff at. So, you know, I think overall, I think you would have to stay in this 40% range. And the alphas, I'll say, didn't do horrible. Less than half of the alpha portfolios um, performed above 40%. So not great, but not horrible. The other thing important to note here is just the variability. How much the portfolios bounced around, and it's not that bad. I think on average, I think all of the portfolios jumped around at least, like 7%, maybe less, because I remember the betas, the absolute best ones were like 3%. So maybe on average like 5 or 6%. And I think these are pretty much same thing with the variability on the high end. The down moves was actually a lot higher, which does give me a little bit of pause, but I think we'll be okay. So with that being said, I think the alpha matters. I think the alpha matters, and Best Buy definitely. All right, so up moves, Best Buy is better there. Down moves, Best Buy is better there, which now I'm really curious as to why IP got the nod at Best Buy. I don't know. Definitely. All right. Best Buy has a better beta. I think I've talked about that already. Best Buy has a better average return. It does bounce around a bit more. Oh, okay. I understand now. So what's happening is this number is a negative, but it's not represented as a negative here for whatever reason. I don't know why. Well, yeah, I know why, but the point is it's not represented. So actually, the smaller number is the better number. So that's reflected here in the actual score. So IP actually has a better down. And then the M score, the infamous M score, Best Buy beats out International Paper. So everything seems to point to Best Buy. What I am curious about now is when that earnings call for Best Buy is. And the reason for that is because if we don't have an earnings call for Best Buy until like September, then I think I'll hold off on selling out of this position until then, because I think we can hold out for some more gains. International Paper, I'll have to check and see. I don't think, because you have to imagine during COVID, a lot of companies were shut down. No one was really in the office. No one. Well, people are back in the office now, but I imagine, compared to previous years, there's not as many people in the office, and so I think that paper is probably down a bit. So the comparisons, year over year, quarter on quarter, I think will be better for International Paper versus Best Buy. What the future of the company is, I'm not entirely sure. So I'll do a little bit of research on that. And the fact that International Paper is, a bit more expensive. Other than that, though, Best Buy beats them out everywhere else. The only thing I'm worried about, like I said, is that next earnings call for Best Buy. You know what I mean? Because the one thing I don't want to do is get caught holding this thing, and I have this great profit now, but earnings come out next month, next 2 months, all of a sudden we're down to our purchase price. You know what I mean? So I kind of want to take advantage of the profit while we have it. And like I said, I really like the proposition of putting some cash in our pocket as well. So that's it. Like I said, I do a little bit of research on international paper, just kind of see where the company is, and then I'll check to see when the next earnings call for Best Buy is, and really decide on whether I'll sell before the earnings. Um, um, well, this is what I'm thinking, right? So I think at this point, um, Best Buy is the better company, okay? But I'm concerned about the earnings call. That's what it is. I'm concerned about the earnings call. So number one, I'm going to find out when the earnings call is to decide on if we sell, when we're going to sell, right? But I'm also going to do just a little bit of research on international paper just to see what's going on with the company. Um, I'm not going to do a deep dive. Like I said, I know the company fairly well, and it's pretty straightforward what they do. And none of the numbers really kind of jumped out at me. They seem pretty straightforward. But again, I do want to kind of see just kind of where the company is at the moment and where it's going. So I'll do some research there. If everything seems to be pointing up on international paper, and the earnings call for Best Buy is kind of far out, then I think the idea is to hold on to Best Buy, and then what I'll do is I will put a stop order on Best Buy, meaning that if the price drops below a certain number, we sell automatically, we're out, and then we'll go into international paper, right? So if the price doesn't drop below that stop order, then we'll just stay in Best Buy because I think Best Buy is the better company. We just have to survive this next earnings call, and if we do survive this next earnings call, honestly, I think we're good to go. Like I said before, I mean, Best Buy is kind of in a place of its own. My favorite electronics company, Fry's Electronics, where I love to shop and build my computers and everything, they're completely shut down. They're out of business. Um, I personally, I don't know where else to go. I know that there's some smaller companies out there, um, but yeah, Best Buy is Best Buy. So I don't have a problem with staying at Best Buy, but I definitely don't want to lose in any profit should the floor drop out of this thing. You know what I mean? Um, and again, the portfolio is calling for International Paper. International Paper is a solid company. It really is. And so yeah, that's that.